Okay, we are ready and we're going. Okay. All right. So we're going to do some more vocabulary from chapter 1. We're going to continue going with the chapter 1 vocabulary from last time. And if you remember, let me share the screen. If you remember from last time, opportunity cost is a crucial. I'm just going to keep harping on that because that will come up on any test, any teacher-given test or any AP test. Opportunity cost is what you give up when you make a choice. So you have trade-offs, you have all your different options. You narrow it down to two different options, option 1 and option 2. And whatever you decide, the thing that you want but you couldn't have because of scarce resources, you can only choose one, the thing you gave up is your opportunity cost, okay? I could study for science or for math. I studied for science, the opportunity cost was studying for math. That's what I gave up. I wanted to study for math, I just didn't have enough time. All right, good decision. So opportunity cost, that's that. Now, what I wanted to go over is a couple vocab words from chapter 1. First of all, let me go to Adam Smith. Adam Smith is the father of modern economics. He wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations. All right. It was published in an easy year to remember. It's not a date test, but 1776. And if you take AP Gov, you should know that because that's the year freedom was born. That's the year the Declaration, one of your primary documents you have to know, the Declaration of Independence was 1776, July 4th, 1776. So that was also the foundation of economics. He was an English economist that wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations, which provides, basically it was the first primary economics. He invented the entire subject. So some of the vocab that you might have to know for him, all right, is laissez-faire economics, all right? And I don't have it on my vocab list, but Laissez-faire. It's a French word. It means leave it alone. Laissez-faire economics is leave it alone. Don't mess with anything. And economics just sort of works. He invented laissez-faire capitalism, or came up with it, theorized about it. What does that mean? It means economics is a good system in that it works without even trying to work. It's just the natural order of things. All right. Case in point, everyone. And he had this theory called the invisible hand theory, which is basically the invisible hand of economics just makes things work without even trying. You don't have to do it. How does that work? All of you guys are going to try to do well in my class, right? The person who does best gets the best GPA, all right? They have the best GPA in the class. They wind up going to the best college. They go to the best college, they get the best job. Why is it the best job? Because it's the job that society at the time puts a premium on in terms of salary. That's usually what people shoot for. And that's usually people in the top-notch universities are the best of the best that we can produce. And therefore, they go into the jobs that we as society value the most. So you see, no one had to do anything. You don't have to pick and choose like a centrally planned economy. You are in China, let's say, you are the best gymnast, so I'm going to pick you at age 0 to be a gymnast. That might not work out, right? Here, nothing is dictated. People who want to go into gymnastics go into gymnastics, and people who want to go into certain jobs do. But as the cream rises to the top, you see how we don't have to like control it. It's just things sort of happen invisibly. They automatically happen where the best students go to the best jobs, which society thinks are most important for us as a species. All right. Now that's how we allocate. Remember, we talked about scarce resources. That's how we allocate scarce resources. Is there's only so much brains that can go around. In the U.S., it seems like we have a scarcity, a severe scarcity of brains. But what we have is important to, you know, divvy out efficiently. So those people that go to the tippy top universities in the US, they get right now, as of right now, what we say is the best jobs, you know, say doctor, lawyer, you know, CEO, executive, these sort of jobs that are very important. Why would a CEO job be important? Because they determine the livelihood of thousands of people in the company, not just their own, right? So if they do a good job, it can benefit thousands. Whereas, you know, if someone at the, let's say at the bottom, a less important job, does a good or bad job, it might just help them. So this is how we allocate resources. So those people that are at the tippy top, naturally, the cream rises to the top. Those people get the best jobs, and society benefits because we have our most capable people doing the most capable jobs, right? I don't know about you, but if I have to get surgery on my shoulder or on my knee, not for nothing, it's not like they're not a valuable member of society, but I don't want someone who couldn't hack high school mathematics to be cutting into my knee, right? It's not something, because if they didn't study hard enough and they're like, oh wait, I was supposed to cut the back of the knee, or I was supposed to cut the left leg. I always get that wrong. Well, now my other leg is chopped off. Thank you. So that's why we need very smart people to be doctors, right? So those people that go to top-notch university, they become the doctors. They make the big bucks because they worked for it and they earned it and they have the acumen for it, all right? So that's how we allocate, and society benefits because we have the best and brightest doing the most important jobs. How does that work with companies? It works the same way. It's a natural order of things, and no one has to do anything. So all these, let's say you have 5 companies making the same product, and they're all competing with each other. It's a dog eat dog world. That company that uses the least amount of resources and makes the most profit, right? They find the best way to manufacture that product. They make the most profit. They will win the company race. They will make the most profits, and people will buy from them because they have the lowest cost. Remember, they're all trying to beat each other on cost. All 5 companies are trying to beat each other and have the lowest cost so that someone can afford their product. Lowest cost company wins, uses the least amount of resources, benefits society, and it doesn't have to be the most technology. We'll go into that a little bit later. It might be a labor intensive production and just labor is cheap at that time, or it might be a high tech company and that's how they make the most profit. The bottom line is whatever resource is most scarce, that company uses the least amount of scarce resources. So once again, society benefits because as these companies are competing naturally, the winner takes the spoils, and that winner built a better mousetrap. They use the least amount of scarce global resources to make that product. And they keep competing and competing, laissez-faire, without government influence, without, just an invisible hand of market competition working. And they keep competing, and maybe this other company all of a sudden makes a new technological breakthrough, and now they're the leader because they have an even better way to make that product. Right? So now they're making that product cheaper, and all of a sudden they can charge less and they become the winning company. Once again, people, society are benefiting the whole time because we used to get shirts for $10 a pop, and now this company sells them for $8 or $7 a pop. Right? So all of a sudden people are saving $3 per shirt. They have more money to spend on other products. So once again, society benefits. As these companies are building a better mousetrap, we benefit because we get the best made product at the lowest price naturally, with just by competition. People compete, companies compete, society wins. So that's laissez-faire economics, no government intervention. and the invisible hand. Market economics simply works. And that's all Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations. All right. So now, when we go to, let's go to sharing that other document. I want you to understand, see this other red word here, marginal. All right. Marginal is a very, very important concept in economics. And you'll see it in a lot of different vocab words. So marginal is that next item. All right. In economics, it's that next item. How long should you study for that test? I study 1 hour. I go from getting a 60 to a 70. I study for 2 hours. I go to a 75. I study for 3 hours. I go to a 79. I study for 4 hours. My score goes up. But you see, each additional hour you study, you're sacrificing, right? So that's marginal. How many hours should I study for this? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And that's a decision you have to make, right? But that's that marginal. A good way to look at marginal is if you go to McDonald's, they have the dollar menu. You buy one thing off the dollar menu, you know the marginal cost, it's $1, right? Maybe you're still hungry, you go back. You buy another thing, you spend another $1, you get another burger or 6-piece, whatever is on the dollar menu. You're still hungry, you go back, you get a soda, all right? You're gonna keep buying until that $1 is not worth it to you. You're not a dollar's worth of hungry. You're going to keep buying food until you're not a dollar's worth of hungry. If you're 50 cents worth of hungry and the next item is $1, you're not going to buy it. So, but each of those is a dollar, is a marginal. That's a marginal cost, whether it's time or actual money. This is the concept of marginal. Marginal is that next item. All right. So where do we see the vocab word marginal? It's all over the place in economics. It's diminishing marginal utility. It's in that word. Diminishing marginal returns if you study microeconomics. Marginal cost, marginal benefit, which is what I just illustrated. The marginal cost of that item was $1. The marginal benefit was in your head, however amount of hungry you are. Okay. And marginal opportunity cost. So marginal is a big word. So it's important to understand marginal is that next item. All right. And last but not least, let's go to the last vocab word. All right, Ceteris Paribus, or all things being equal. You see this down here. Very important. Latin is more important in Gov. You see a lot more, especially in the law section, you see a lot more Latin, or in the courts. But there is some Latin in economics, in macroeconomics. One is Ceteris Paribus, or all other things equal. All right, so what does that mean? Well, I go into a big thing on econ is not a science, it's not a physical science. It's a social science, right? It's in social studies. What that means is it's like a quasi-science. They are rules of thumb that can be broken because you're dealing with people and people don't always make rational decisions. Even though, to go back to Adam Smith, he also came up with that theory that people are utility maximizers. We're trying to make selfish, rational self-interest decisions. And by studying for that test, you're rationally trying to study and get the best grade to make the most money to have the best life. That's in your best interest. But you're also benefiting society. And again, that goes back to that laissez-faire. By each person being selfish, by working in their own self-interest, by companies being selfish, working in their own self-interest, society benefits. Even though each of us is just working out for ourselves, it tends to benefit society. All right, that's a very, very important concept. So selfishness is not necessarily a bad thing in economics. It actually can work out for all of our benefits. So again, Ceteris Paribus, the one weakness of economics is that you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with, in science, in a physical science, when you do those labs, I forget, there was this one thing where if you drop a certain stone into hydrochloric acid, it releases hydrogen, and then you can blow up the hydrogen. That will happen 10 times out of 10, right? If you have a magnet and you have iron filings, 10 times out of 10, if you drop those iron filings, they will line up on that magnet. Why? Because the magnet generates a magnetic field and they're attracted to it. So that's a physical science. It won't like, well, maybe the magnet doesn't feel like it that day. It will always happen. That's the difference. Is it's a physical science. A social science is different, where you're dealing with people who make millions of individual decisions on an everyday basis. So we can come up with laws or theories that work in general. Right? One of them that you probably are familiar with is the theory of supply and demand, right? So in general, as the demand for something increases, its price will increase, right? Is there that one person out there that they're like, well, it's popular right now, so I don't want it, so I'm not going to buy it? Yes, but in general, that's not how things work. Right? But you always have that one person that's going to wreck the whole economic theory. But that's one of the weaknesses of econ, is that you have to isolate two variables. It's very hard to do. So like think about going to whatever your grocery store is, right? And you go, you're thirsty, you need a drink for the house. And you don't know what you're going to buy. So you go and you look down the soda and juice aisle. What do you see? Picture it in your mind. There's hundreds and hundreds of drinks, hundreds of different brands at different price points and different, it depends upon, some people like soda, some people don't like soda. There's all these different drinks. There's iced tea, there's flavored water, there's coconut water, everything you could imagine you have available to you. All right, well, so econ can't deal with all those variables. Remember, science, you have to isolate one and two. So remember what I was talking about. Let's isolate Coke and Pepsi. So let's say Pepsi's on sale. If the price of Pepsi goes down, all things being equal, ceteris paribus, what will happen to the demand for Coke, right? You go in, you see Pepsi is buy one, get one free. You're probably not going to buy the Coke. You're probably going to buy the Pepsi. That's a general rule of thumb, all right? So as Pepsi's price goes down, the demand for Coke will decrease. Now, Ceteris Paribus says we have to just isolate Coke and Pepsi to do that experiment. Could we be concerned with Snapple or 7-Up or Sprite or coconut water or all these other variables? Yes, but that's what Ceteris Paribus says, is ignore other things equal. You have to ignore all the other brands, anything else that could influence that decision. Just set it aside and say, if the price of Pepsi goes down, all things being equal, what will happen to the demand for Coke? So that's what ceteris paribus means, is isolate these two things, and it's isolate all other variables for this experiment. And it's a weakness of economics, because you have to, in theory, just think about things where in the real world, there's a lot more things going on. All right, so that's it. That's the rest of that chapter 1 vocab. Hopefully you learned it, and it'll help you out in your studies. Thank you. Have that econ day.